Greetings everyone, my name is G-Rod and this is Let's Build, where I build a Lego set timed to different media and talk about the facts concerning the topic of the build. How many episodes of a series will it take to complete the set? To find out, let's build. Today's build is the Amelia Earhart tribute versus the documentary Enduring Mystery of Amelia Earhart, Tale of Two Sisters, from the Timeline World History Documentaries channel. Some specifications on the Lego set. Help children celebrate International Women's Day in 2021, which is when this set was released, with this a Lego Amelia Earhart tribute building set. Kids will learn about the amazing achievement of Amelia Earhart, the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic, as they build this replica of the Lockheed Vega 5B that carried her into the history books. This brick-build airplane will also make a great gift for anyone who loves models of interesting vehicles, and it comes with a sturdy base plate so it can be displayed with ease. Help kids learn about the first woman to fly across the Atlantic. A cool addition to any collection, this replica Lockheed Vega 5B makes a great display piece. This set is 203 pieces, includes an Amelia Earhart minifigure, route map tile, sturdy base plate, and stickers to decorate the plane. Makes a great Christmas, birthday, or anytime gift for anyone over 8 years old. The airplane measures over 4 inches high, 8 inches long, and 8 inches in width. The documentary takes a look into the life and legacy of Amelia Earhart thanks to her sister Pidge. I will be focusing primarily on Amelia's history with flight. I will also be talking about the aircraft, the Lockheed Vega 5B, which is prominently displayed. Amelia Earhart was born July 24, 1897, was an American aviation pioneer. On July 2nd, 1937, she disappeared over the Pacific Ocean while attempting to become the first female pilot to circumnavigate the globe. During her life, Amelia embraced celebrity culture and women's rights, and since her disappearance has become a global cultural figure. She was the first female pilot to fly solo non-stop across the Atlantic Ocean and set many other records. She was one of the first aviators to promote commercial air travel, wrote best-selling books about her flying experiences, and was instrumental in the formation of the 99s, an organization for women pilots. Earhart was born and raised in Atchison, Kansas, and developed a passion for adventure at a young age, steadily gaining flying experiences in her 20s. In 1928, she became a celebrity after becoming the first female passenger to cross the Atlantic by airplane. In 1932, she became the first woman to make a non-stop solo transatlantic flight, which was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross for her achievement. In 1935, she became a visiting faculty member of Purdue University as an advisor in aeronautical engineering and a career counselor to female students. She was a member of the National Women's Party and an early supporter of equal rights amendments. She was one of the most inspirational American figures from the late 1920s and throughout the 1930s. Her legacy is often compared to that of the early pioneer aviator Charles Lindbergh, as well as First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, for their close friendship and lasting influence on women's causes. In 1937, during an attempt to become the first woman to complete a circumnavigational flight around the globe, flying the Lockheed Model E-10 Electra airplane, Earhart and her navigator Fred Noonan, disappeared near Howland Island in the central Pacific Ocean. The two were last seen in Lae, New Guinea, their last stop before Howland Island, a very small location where they were intending to refuel. It is generally believed that they ran out of fuel before they found Howland Island and crashed into the ocean near their destination. fact, nearly 1 year and 6 months after she and Noonan disappeared, Earhart was officially declared dead. The mysterious nature of Earhart's disappearance has caused much public interest in her life. Her airplane has never been found, which was the Lockheed Model 10E Electra aircraft. That was the one they were flying at the time. And it has led to speculation and conspiracy theories about the outcome of the flight. Decades after her presumed death, Earhart was inducted into the National Aviation Hall of Fame in 1968 and the National Women's Hall of Fame in 1973. Several commemorative memorials in the United States have been named in her honor. These include a commemorative U.S. airmail stamp, an airport, a museum, a bridge, cargo ship, an earth-filled dam, a playhouse, a library, and multiple roads and schools. She also has a minor planet, planetary corona, and newly discovered lunar crater named after her. Numerous films, documentaries, and books have recounted Earhart's life, and she is ranked 9th on Flying's list of the 51 heroes of aviation. Her early flying experiences. In the early 1920s, Earhart and a young woman friend visited an air fair held in conjunction with the Canadian National Exhibition in Toronto. She said, "The interest aroused in me in Toronto and led me to the air circuses in the vicinity, to all of them. One of the highlights of the day was a flying exhibition put on by a World War I ace. The pilot saw Earhart and her friend, who were watching from an isolated clearing, and dived at them. I'm sure he said to himself, 'Watch me make them scamper,' she said. Earhart stood her ground as the aircraft came close. 'I did not understand it at the time,' she said, 'but I believe that little red airplane said something to me as it whished by.'" On December 28, 1920, Earhart and her father attended an aerial meet at Daughtry Field in Long Beach, California. She asked her father to ask about passenger flights and flying lessons. Earhart was booked for a passenger flight the following day at Emory Rogers Field. A 10-minute flight with Frank Hawks, who later gained fame as an air racer, cost $10. The ride with Hawks changed Earhart's life. She said, "By the time I had got 200 or 300 feet off the ground, I knew I had to fly." The next month, Earhart engaged Netta Sook to be her flying instructor. The initial contract was for 12 hours instruction for $500. Working at a variety of jobs, including photographer, truck driver, and stenographer at the local telephone company, Earhart saved $1,000 for the flying lessons. She had her first lesson on January 3, 1921, at Kinnerfield on the west side of Long Beach Boulevard and Tweedy Road, now in the city of Southgate. For training, Sook used a crash-salvaged Curtiss JN-4 Canuck airplane that she had restored for training. To reach the airfield, Earhart had to take a bus, then walk 4 miles. Earhart's mother provided part of the $1,000 stake against her better judgment. Earhart cropped her hair short in the style of other female flyers. 6 months later, in mid-1921, and against Snook's advice, Earhart purchased a second-hand chromium yellow Kinner Airster biplane, which she nicknamed the Canary. After her first successful solo landing, she bought a new leather flying coat. But due to the newness of the coat, she was subjected to teasing, so she aged it by sleeping in it and staining it with aircraft oil. On October 22nd, 1922 rather, Earhart flew the Airster to an altitude of 14,000 feet, setting a world record for female pilots. On May 16, 1923, Earhart became the 16th woman in the United States to be issued a pilot's license, number 6017, by the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale, the FAI. On May 20th, 1932, the 34-year-old Earhart set off from Harbor Grace, Newfoundland, with a copy of the Telegraph Journal given to her by her journalist, Stuart Truman, to confirm the date of the flight. She intended to fly to Paris in her single-engine Lockheed Vega 5B to emulate Charles Lindbergh's solo flight 5 years earlier. Her technical advisor for the flight was Norwegian-American aviator Brent Balken, who helped prepare her aircraft and played the role of decoy for the press because he was ostensibly preparing Earhart's Vega for his own Arctic flight. After a flight lasting 14 hours, 56 minutes, during which she contended with strong northerly winds, icy conditions, and mechanical issues, Earhart landed in a pasture at Colmore, which is north of Derry in Northern Ireland. The landing was witnessed by Cecil King and T. Sawyer. When a farmhand asked, "Have you flown far?" Earhart replied, "From America." As the first woman to fly solo nonstop across the Atlantic, Earhart received the Distinguished Flying Cross from Congress, the Cross of Knight of the Legion of Honor from the French government, and the Gold Medal of the National Geographic Society and from President Herbert Hoover. As her fame grew, Earhart developed friendships with many people in high offices, most notably First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, who shared many of Earhart's interests, especially in women's causes. After flying with Earhart, Roosevelt obtained a student permit but did not further pursue her plans to learn to fly. Earhart and Roosevelt frequently communicated with each other. Another flyer, Jacqueline Cochran, who is said to be Earhart's rival, also became her confidant during this period. On January 11, 1935, Earhart became the first aviator to fly solo from Honolulu, Hawaii to Oakland, California. This time, Earhart used a Lockheed 5C Vega. Although many aviators had attempted this transoceanic route, notably by the unfortunate participants in the 1927 Dole Air Race that had reversed the route, Earhart's flight had been mainly routine with no mechanical breakdowns. In her final hours, she relaxed and listened to the broadcast of the Metropolitan Opera from New York. On April 19, 1935, using her Lockheed Vega aircraft that she had named Old Bessie, the Fire Horse, Earhart flew solo from Los Angeles to Mexico City. Earhart's next record attempt was a nonstop flight from Mexico City to New York. After she set off on May 8th, her flight was uneventful, although large crowds greeted her at Newark, New Jersey, and were a concern because she had to be careful not to taxi into them. Earhart again participated in the 1935 Bendix Trophy, a long-distance air race, finishing 5th, the best result she could manage because her stock Lockheed Vega, whose maximum speed was 195 miles per hour, was outclassed by purpose-built aircraft that reached more than 300 miles per hour. The race had been difficult because a competitor, Cecil Allen, died in a fire at the takeoff and Jacqueline Cochran was forced to pull out due to mechanical problems. In addition, blinding fog and violent thunderstorms plagued the race. Between 1930 and 1935, Earhart set 7 women's speed and distance aviation records in a variety of aircraft, including the Kinner Airster, Lockheed Vega, and Pitcairn Autogrio? I've never heard of that one. By 1935, recognizing the limitations of her lovely Red Vega in long transoceanic flights, Earhart contemplated a new prize, one flight which I most wanted to attempt, a circumnavigation of the globe as near to its waistline as could be. For this new venture, she would need a new aircraft. The Lockheed Vega is an American 5 to 7 seat high-wing monoplane airliner built by Lockheed Corporation starting in 1927. It became famous for its use by a number of record-breaking pilots who were attracted to its high speed and long range. Amelia Earhart became the first woman known to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean in one, and Wiley Post used his to prove the existence of the jet stream after flying around the world twice. Designed by John Knudsen Northrop and Gerald Vultee, both of whom would later form their own companies, the aircraft originally was intended to serve with Lockheed's own airline routes. They set out to build 4-passenger plus a pilot aircraft that was not only rugged, but could also be one of the fastest aircraft in its era. Using a wooden monocoque, I don't know what that word is, fuselage, and plywood-covered cantilever wings and the best engine available, the Vega delivered on the promise of speed. The fuselage was built from sheets of plywood, skinned over wooden ribs. Using a large concrete mold, a single half of the fuselage shell was laminated in sections with glue between each layer, and then rubber bladder was lowered into the mold and inflated with air to compress the lamination into shape against the inside of the mold. The two fuselage halves were then nailed and glued over a separately constructed rib framework. With the fuselage constructed in this fashion, the wing spar couldn't cut through the fuselage, so the wing spar cantilever wing was mounted on top of the aircraft. Only the engine and landing gear remained essentially unstreamlined, and on the production versions of the undercarriage had teardrop-shaped fairings covering the wheels, while only the earliest versions lacked the NACA cowlings and had the engine cylinders exposed to the airstream. It was powered by the Wright Whirlwind air-cooled radial engine, which delivered 225 horsepower. Looking to improve the design, Lockheed delivered the Vega 5 in 1929, adding the Pratt & Whitney R1340 Wasp engine of 450 horsepower and a new NACA cowling, which improved performance enough to allow the addition of 2 more seats and increased cruising speed of 155 miles per hour and a top speed to 165 miles per hour. A variant of the Vega 5 was built specifically for private aviation and executive transport as the L5A Executive, although the 5 was also used by many airlines, including Pan American Airlines, Pacific Alaska Airways, and Transcontinental and Western Air. Only a total of 64 Vega 5s were built. The Vega could be difficult to land. In her memoir, Eleanor Smith wrote that it had all the glide potential of a boulder falling off a mountain. In addition, the forward and side visibility from the cockpit was extremely limited. Lane Wallace, a columnist for Flying Magazine, wrote, "Even in level flight, the windscreen would offer a better view of the sky than anything else, which would make it more of a challenge to detect changes in altitude or bank angle. On takeoff or landing, there'd be almost no forward visibility whatsoever." And in my opinion, the fact that the Vegas were so difficult to fly with and land with makes any amount of record setting and record breaking so much more impressive. My build time today was 29 minutes and 18 seconds. The runtime of the documentary is about 44 minutes. If you enjoyed learning about Amelia Earhart or history, I recommend highly watching the full version on Timeline World Documentaries channel on YouTube. Remember to like, subscribe, ring that bell, do all the things for the YouTubes. Goodbye.